Welcome back to the lesson. In our previous video, we've successfully updated our admin's profile image both on our sidebar and also the header section, and I hope everything is clear to you. And in this video, we're going to start implementing the main features of our student result management system. We're going to go ahead and start by creating and managing our student classes. So to create and manage our student class functionality, our first job is actually to go ahead and create our student class models, migration, and also controller. As Laravel follows the MVC models, almost every feature that we're going to be implementing in our Laravel application must have these three pieces working together in harmony to achieve every feature in Laravel. So let's go ahead and start by that. Let's go ahead and create our class models, migration, and also our class controller. And we can create all these three files, our models, migration, and controller, using the PHP artisan command. So let's go ahead and go to our terminal window. Let's come over here, and then first of all, let's go ahead and create our models and migration. So you can simply do that using a single command. Let's go ahead and say PHP artisan make model, and then I'm going to go ahead and call our model classes, like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and say -m, meaning the migration. This single command, PHP artisan make model classes, is going to create our class model, and this -m is going to create our migrations. So basically this single line command is going to create both our class model and also our migration, our class migration, which is going to be our database table that we're going to be storing our student class. So now let's go ahead and hit enter. Alright, as you can see, now we have a file called classes.php inside of our app, inside models. And then there we have our classes model. And also it went ahead to create our migration inside of our database, migrations, and we have our create classes table migration inside of our migration directory right here. So let's go ahead and take a look. So you can see, let's come over here, and inside of our app, models, as you can see, we have our classes model created using that single command. And if you come over here to your database inside migration, you're going to see our classes migration created successfully. So let's go ahead and create our controller. So now let's come back here and say PHP artisan make controller. I'm going to go ahead and create our controller inside of our backend folder. And inside backend folder, I'm going to go ahead and call our controller classes controller, like so. And of course, this is the pattern to create a class controller. You have to make sure that the initial letter is capitalized, and also the second word initial should also be capitalized. As you can see, I'm using two names here. I have classes and also controller, so both the initials of the words are all capitalized. So this is basically the convention to create a controller. So now let's go ahead and hit enter. Okay, now as you can see, our class controller or classes controller is created inside of our controllers backend and classes controller. So let's go ahead and take a look. So you can see, if you come over here under HTTP controllers, remember, we've created a folder called backend where we store our admin's controller, and now we go ahead and add another controller called classes controller. So here is our classes controller. So now that we have our student class, migration, models, and also controller, we can go ahead and now continue with implementing our student class features. So let's go ahead and start with our migration. First of all, let's go ahead and open our classes migration. As you can see now, here is our classes migration. So basically, we're going to be having two columns inside of our classes migration, which are going to be our student class name and also our class sections. So let's go ahead and create those two columns. Let's come down here, and then let me go ahead and say table, like so. And then I want it to store a string data type, string, like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and call it class underscore name, like so. And then now let's go ahead and copy this line of code, paste it down below here, and then let's go ahead and create our section this time around, section, something like this. And now let's go ahead and save our migration, save. And then the next step is going to be for us to handle our mass assignment inside of our student model. we need to make sure that the student class name and also the section columns are fillable. So let's go ahead and make sure that is possible by going inside of our classes model. As you can see, this is our classes model. So let's go ahead and copy our protected guarded from our usage model, just like we've done earlier. So let's go ahead and copy this, and then let's paste it inside of our classes model, like so. Now with this, all of our columns, all of our migration columns are going to be fillable. Both our class name and sections are going to be fillable. So let's go ahead and save our file. Save. Alright, and now let's go ahead and run our migrations to create this our classes table inside of our database right here. As you can see now, let me go ahead and take you back. As you can see now, our classes table is not available on our database yet. So we need to go ahead and run our migration for our classes table right here, our classes table, to actually be created inside of our database right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's go ahead and run our migration. Let's go ahead and say PHP artisan migrate. Now let's go ahead and hit enter. Okay, now our migration is successfully run. Now our classes table is created. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now refresh our page like so. Yes, as you can see now we have our classes table. So let's go ahead and take a look. Yes, as you can see we have class name and sections. We have created art and then we have updated art. So these are basically automatically created by this line of code timestamps. So we do not need to worry about this each time we create any migrations. All we need to worry about is our main columns, which is class name and our sections, which are basically right here. So now that we have our classes table successfully migrated, let's go ahead and start working on the view section. Let's go ahead and create our student classes menu right here. So now let's go ahead and locate our sidebar and then go ahead and start populating our menus. So let's go back to our source code. Let's go ahead and close this. We're not going to be needing this. The model as well. Yes, as you can see, this is our sidebar. So let's go ahead and expand the window like so. Let's go ahead and close this. Alright, let's go ahead and start by changing our menu title right here, which is right here that says menu. So let me go ahead and call this main category like so. Let me go ahead and update our dashboard URL right here. As you can see, it's pointing to index.html, which is something like this. If you go ahead and click on this route, it's going to take you to 404 not found, page not found. So let's go ahead and update our path to take us to our admin's dashboard. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and set /dashboard like so. And now it's going to go ahead and take us to our dashboard page. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Now let's refresh our page. And now if you come over here and click our dashboard, we should be taken to our main dashboard page. Yes, something like this. So let's go back to our profile. And now let's go ahead and work on this section that says pages. So let me go ahead and say pages. Let's change this to appearance like so. And now I'm going to go ahead and use this authentication session as our student class section. So let me go ahead and change the title to student classes like so. And then here should be create class. So let's go ahead and say create class, something like this. So let's go ahead and get rid of this and let's go ahead and save our file. Save. And now let's go ahead and refresh our application. Let's refresh. Yes, as you can see now we have main category and then we have appearance and now we have student classes, and under student classes we have create class. So now let's go ahead and create our route that will redirect us to our create student class view. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get back to our code, and then now inside of our href I'm gonna go ahead and call our routes like so, routes. And let's go ahead and call our route create class. something like this. And now let's go ahead and create our route inside of our web.php file. So let's go ahead and find our web.php file. So inside the routes directory, we have a web.php file. Okay, something like this. Okay, now that we are done with our admin sections, let's go ahead and comment this. So let's say admins all routes, like so. So now let's go ahead and copy this our admin group routes. So let's go ahead and do that. Copy this, and now let's come down here and say paste. And this time around, we're going to go ahead and call this classes all routes. So let's go ahead and get rid of the remaining routes, like so. So we need only one. So now let's go back to our sidebar and copy our route name, our create class route name. And now let's come back here and then update this like so. And then let's go ahead and update our URL as well. Copy this, and then let's go ahead and update this. Create, copy this, class, and then our method is going to be create class, like so. And remember, we create a controller for our classes called classes controller. So we're going to go ahead and change this our admin controller to classes controller. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's copy this line of code like so. Copy it, come down below here, and then let's go ahead and set, instead of admin controller, inside of our backend, we have the so-called classes controller. As you can see, it made a suggestion for us. So let's go ahead and click that. And now let's go ahead and copy our classes controller like so, and then replace our admin controller right here with our classes controller. So now all of our classes method are going to be created inside of our classes controller. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's go ahead and copy our create class method, and let's go ahead and find our classes controller, which can be found in apps, http, controllers, backend, and here is our class controller or classes controller. So now let's go ahead and create our method, say public function, paste our method name like so, and now let's go ahead and say end method like so. And this our create class method is going to be returning a view. It's going to be returning the view through which our admin is going to be creating our student classes. So let's go ahead and return the view like so. Return the view, and then I'm going to go ahead and create our student class view inside a new directory. So let's go ahead and say backend, and inside backend I'm going to go ahead and create another subdirectory called classes. And inside classes, I'm going to go ahead and create our create class view. So let's say create underscore class underscore view, something like this. And now let's go ahead and create our new directories, the backend and class directory, and also create our create class view. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now let's go ahead and copy our backend. Now let's come over here to our resources, inside views. And inside view, I'm going to go ahead and create another directory, a new directory, backend. And then inside the backend directory, I'm going to go ahead and create another directory called classes, new folder, classes. And inside the classes folder, I'm going to go ahead and create our create class view. So let's go ahead and copy this. Inside that, let's say new file, paste, .blade.php, and then now let's go ahead and hit enter. Okay, our create class view is going to be something like this. Let me go ahead and something like our change password, because it's going to contain two input fields that are going to be receiving both the class name and also our section. So let's go ahead and copy this view. Let's go ahead and find this view inside of our code. Let's go inside our views, inside admins, and we have our admin password change, something like this. So now let's go ahead and copy this view, copy everything. Let's go back to our create class view. Now let's paste everything like so, and we're not going to need this again. So let's go ahead and say view word wrap to get rid of the overflow. Okay, and now let's go ahead and change our title like so to create student class, classes. Okay, and then here should be create, and here should be class or classes, like so. Our form title here should be changed to create student class, so let's say create student class. Okay, something like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. Now let's go ahead and see save all, and let's go ahead and run our artisan command php optimize, like so, to clear caches. Okay, now let's go ahead and refresh our application. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look. Let's head over to our classes, create classes, view. Alright, as you can see, yes, we are having our view that says create student classes, and then create class, and then create student class. So now let's go ahead and modify our input field to the student class input field. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's come back here, and then our first input field right here should be, the level should be for class name, like so. And then we're not going to be needing any default Laravel error message in this form, so the name here should be class name, and then type should be text, not password, text. Placeholder should be class name. Let's replace this, like so, and then we're not going to be needing this. And of course, let's go ahead and make our input field required, because we don't want to submit an empty input field. And now let's go ahead and add a paragraph here that gives a hint. Let's say paragraph, and then let's say e.g. first, second, third, etc. And let's go ahead and add some styling to our paragraph. Say style, let's say font style to italic, something like this. Now let's go ahead and save our file. Save. Well, actually, let's go ahead and get rid of the remaining input fields because we're not going to be needing them. Okay, something like this. And our button should say create class, like so. Let's go ahead and save our file. Save. And now let's go ahead and refresh our file. Yes, something like this. We said class name and some hints down below here. Okay, that's cool. Let's go ahead and create our input field for our section. So let's go back to our code, and now let's go ahead and copy this input field, come down below here and paste. Let's go ahead and call this level this to section. Then let's go ahead and change our placeholder as well to section. Type text required, the name should be section, something like this. And the section hints should be section B, section C, etc. So something like this. Let's go ahead and save our file. Save. And now let's go ahead and refresh our application. Yes, so now we have successfully created our create student class view. So friend, that will be it for this video, and in our next video we're going to be storing our student class inside of our database. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.